Here we determine the consumer surplus at the equilibrium price using the demand and supply function. So to determine the consumer surplus, first we have to determine the equilibrium quantity, and we determine this by setting up the demand and supply equal, which means this demand function equals the supply function at the equilibrium quantity. So therefore, we substitute the demand function, which is 60 minus x squared, equals the supply function, that is 6 plus x squared divided by 2. We solve for the quantity x from this equation. I subtract 6 from both sides and add x squared on both sides. So this will be 60 minus 6, and this equals adding x squared to both sides. We get x squared plus x squared by 2. 60 minus 6 equals 54, and this equals x squared plus half of x squared will be 3 half x squared. So let's solve for x and x from this equation by multiplying by 2 first and then dividing by 3. So we will have 108 divided by 3 equals x squared. And so this gives x squared equals 36. Now take square root on both sides to get x. So x will be plus or minus 6. Since x represents a quantity, we take only the positive number, that is x equals 6. Uh, so this is the equilibrium quantity. Let's say this one is QE. Now we have to determine the equilibrium price, which we can find by substituting this equilibrium quantity either into demand or into the supply function. So let's substitute into the demand function. We have the demand function d of x, and this equals 60 minus x squared. Substituting 6 into x, we get 60 minus 6 squared. This equals 60 minus 36. This equals 24. So this 24 represents the equilibrium price. Let's say this is P of E. So now that we have determined the equilibrium quantity and equilibrium price, we can write the formula for consumer surplus to determine the consumer surplus. The consumer surplus is given by the formula CS. This equals the integral from 0 to QE, that is equilibrium quantity, times the demand function T of x qx, sorry, dx, minus PE equilibrium price times the equilibrium quantity. So let's replace the values which we have determined. So this will be the definite integral from 0 to QE. QE is 6, that is the equilibrium quantity, times the d of x equals 60 minus x squared. So replace d of x by 60 minus x squared dx minus PE, which represents the equilibrium price, which is 24, times the equilibrium quantity is 6. And so this gives, we should find the antiderivative of 60, which is 60x. And the antiderivative of x squared is x raised to the power of 3 divided by 3. And we evaluate this between the limits 0 to 6 minus 24 times 6, which equals 144. Now let's evaluate this. So this one, we replace x by the upper bound, which is 6, minus replace x once again by the upper limit, which is 6 cube, and this equals 216. So I replace the 6 cube by 216 divided by 3. This we get when we apply the upper limit, and when you substitute x for the lower limit, that is 0, this will become 0 and this will also become 0. So it's basically we subtract only 144. Let's simplify this, and so this gives 60 times 6 is 360, minus 216 by 3 minus 144. We combine this, 360 minus 144 equals 216. And so this one is 216 minus 216 over 3. So this equals 1 times of 216 minus 1 third times of 216 will be 2 third times of 216. And so this equals, can divide this 216 by 3. This goes 72 times. So 72 times 2 is 144. So this is the consumer surplus.